International creditors have shut the door on talks with Athens until after Sunday's referendum on whether the country will accept or reject more austerity. With prospects of a default looming, blame is being squarely placed on the shoulders of the Greek government, led by Alexis Tsipras.
This government has done nothing since it came into office. It's reneged on previously agreed commitments. You can't, in all honesty, expect us to talk with them in a situation like this.
Given the political situation, the rejection of the previous proposals and the no advice of the Greek government, we see no ground for further talks at this point.
I'm blaming the Greeks to tell things to the Greek public which are not consistent with what I told the Greek Prime Minister.
Until the arrival of Mr. Tsipras, we had a Greek government that cooperated more or less effectively with European partners. Now we have a Greek government that refuses to act reasonably.
The criticism of the Greek leadership is so intense it's even prompted accusations that the EU wants the government in Greece swept aside.
The austerity backed by Germany and the Troika has failed. Soup kitchens and more soup kitchens. Greece is not the only one to have broken the EU's budget rules. Why is it being vilified? You want to remove the leftist government in Greece. That's what it is about.
Well, we spoke to locals in Athens to see what they think about being lectured on the choice of government.
What they're essentially saying is that your own government is the enemy and we're your friends. Just don't buy it anymore.
They're trying to polarize the Greek society, and this is going to create a lot of problems.
When you are negotiate with the Europeans and when you say one thing in the meeting room and then you go outside and blame them and accuse them, doesn't show a very reliable Greek and very stable Greek government.
I want to be in Europe on my own terms, not as a poor corner of Europe. I'm glad to hear Mr. Tsipras will stay with us. It is good that he sticks to his convictions. All the others have betrayed us. That is why I trust him.
Now, while many in Europe blame the Greek government for the crisis, the German leader herself has not escaped criticism. A potential Grexit, that's a Greek exit from the EU, well, that would be regarded as a political disaster for the Chancellor, who's been in charge while the crisis has evolved. Germany is also the largest creditor of Greece among EU member states. We spoke with global financial markets expert Patrick Young, who spelled out just how much the Greek crisis is costing Merkel.
Transfer union is very simple. Transfer means when you have to support poorer elements of society by effectively giving them money from the richer parts. Therefore, what we're talking about here is Mrs. Merkel is saying, oh, we're really rich in Germany, but don't think you're getting a single penny of anything, no matter how poor you may be in the Mediterranean. It's a complete travesty, because ultimately it is the undoing of the whole economic framework by which an ever closer union must work, because what she's saying is there's one will for the rich, and therefore the poor can be in subjugation. A large number of Mrs. Merkel's own backbenchers don't want to see another penny going to Greece. Also, you've got parties such as the AVD, the Alternative for Germany, whether they are of the hue of the National Front in France, whether they're something like the Five Star League of Beppe Grillo in Italy, whether you're looking at something like UKIP, the United Kingdom Independence Party in Britain. Very different politics, but one and all, they're united on one thing. They don't want to see endless amounts of money being allocated to the Euro blob to be wasted. Just as Mrs. Merkel is the most sensationally overblown up, overemphasised, over-talked about politician of her times, she's a political pygmy leading a union of pygmies. Their economy is going down the drain. The European Union, as it currently stands, is working its way into economic irrelevance. And Mrs. Merkel is delusional if she believes that she is actually in any way involved in leading an economic powerhouse.
6 police officers charged with the death of unarmed black man Freddie Gray are scheduled to appear in court today. Gray's death in custody caused massive protests, adding to already strained relations between police and local communities. And videos such as the one you're about to see are not helping with the tension. Please be aware the following footage contains some graphic images.
Hey, Rick, on your face!
And in his tweets, one former Baltimore police officer has openly talked about the abuse taking place within police ranks. Michael Wood reveals that young black males are often being targeted only because they are generally arrested more. A police officer in his department could apparently slap a completely innocent female for bumping into him. He also claims that arrests aren't actually based on real crime rates, and that the greatest oppression for citizens and even officers themselves is often coming from commanders. We spoke to Michael Wood about his revelations.
It's a slow evolution. You start off in American policing and you're in this us versus them mentality. It's like a war, and you're going and you're fighting this war. But then eventually you start to learn and you start to see the people as being not the enemy, but just like any other people. And with my education coming through and then just experiences on the street, eventually it just was a continual progress where suddenly the dots came together and it felt like what we were doing was terrible.
The Baltimore Police Department has reacted to the case, saying that the revelations are very troubling, claiming that such abuses will never be tolerated. Michael Wood again believes that his leaks only confirm what he thinks has been a sad practice for years, and that the problems need confronting by officials.
I don't really think I'm revealing anything. That's kind of been the shocker to me, that this is news. Black America and the black communities in these cities have been telling people that this has been happening as long as I can ever remember, and no one just believed them. All I'm doing is saying that the black community is not lying. What they're saying is true. These things happen. I think reform can take place as long as we understand and recognize our problems and what we're doing for real, instead of pretending we're doing something else.
We will have more news for you very shortly, including Indian businessmen taking over the UK's job market. Stay with us.